In recent years, I've been spending more and more of my time fishing waters across Europe. For me, carp fishing has always been about the adventure, and as a carp angler, there's no bigger adventure than travelling to unfamiliar lands in search of big carp. It's not just about the big fish though. The planning, preparation, the travelling all add to the excitement that has rekindled a new buzz for carp fishing that I haven't felt since I was a kid. Join me as I leave behind the UK and visit a country that has captured my mind and my heart. Somewhere that has provided me with the highest of highs, but also the lowest of lows. A country that has the potential to make all of my angling dreams come true, but has yet to reward me with that magical moment. This is Germany, and this is Chasing Giants, episode 2. I think my obsession with German carp or German carp fishing probably began sometime in the early 2000s when I'd look in the pages of Carp World magazine and you'd see these deep-bodied German mirrors with chestnut brown coloration, dark olive backs, and they just looked absolutely incredible. But it wasn't until I think it'd be 2018 when I actually first carp fished in Germany. That was when Harry and I filmed In Pursuit of Carpiness Part 2, and we met up with Mike Puka, and he guested us on some incredible waters in Germany. Harry had a really impressive fish on that trip. I think he had from memory, I think it was 47 or 48 pound, a lovely German mirror. On that trip I wasn't as lucky. I caught quite a few fish, but nothing of any size and nothing that really stood out as being the German mirrors that I'd been looking at in the magazines and had set my targets on. The more I'm around these waters, the more I'm around the big fish anglers like Stefan, who's a huge inspiration to me. Just looking at some of the fish he's caught, they really are fish of dreams, and it really does fuel the fire and fuel the drive and the determination to catch these big fish when you look at the fish that he's caught. And it's after spending time with Stefan and seeing his photos, I desperately wanted to catch a German 60 pounder. That for me is my goal, and I'm yet to achieve that. And I have fished quite a lot in Germany. I've had some amazing moments, but I've also had some real cruel blows dealt to me. I've had lots of blank sessions. I've had sessions where everything's gone wrong. I've had some good ones too, but I'm yet to catch that true German monster.
There's no need to complicate things. Let's stick to the basics. We both know what we want. Let's just keep it simple. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. We dance on the same wavelength. This feels like a new beginning. We both know what we want. Let's just keep it simple. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So won't you let me trip with you? Leaning down for you. Leave us till tomorrow. So won't you let me trip with you?
But it's been exactly 18 hours since I left home in the early hours of the morning, and I'm finally on the lake. We've unloaded some of the kit from the van, packed it into 2 rowing boats, the one I'm in now and the one that's getting towed behind, and we are en route to the swim. I mean, there was a bit more of a direct route. We could have walked through the field. Stefan had advised us against that because of the number of ticks in the long grass, and I know from fishing this region previously, the ticks can be a pain, quite literally, because they seem to get in areas where they shouldn't seem to be. So yeah, we are en route to the swim. It feels proper doing it this way as well though. It feels more of an adventure when you've got to roll your tackle to your swim. But it's an amazing lake. I have been fortunate to fish this lake on a few occasions previously. The stock of fish it holds is just ridiculous. And and I've never really got into any of those big ones before. I've caught a few fish from here, but none of the giants that I know this lake contains, and I'm hoping we can change all that this trip. As you can see behind me, the sun is setting, the mozzies are biting, but the gear is something like in the swim. It's kind of scattered around all over at the moment, but I absolutely love this swim. It's just cut out into the reeds. You've got a bit of a rickety plank leading out into the lake to rest the rods on there. Proper carpy swim. I've been out in the boat and checked out some areas that Stefan pointed out to me. I put bait on those spots. I'm not going to have time to get the rods out tonight. It's been an exhausting day. I've got a bit more sorting out to do here because there's gear just strewn everywhere. But I will be up at the crack of dawn, well rested, rigs tied and raring to go. Well, it's shortly after first light and it's been a busy morning so far. Haven't got the rods in the water yet, but I've just done a bit of swim maintenance. I'm going to be fishing towards snags at probably about 250 meters range, so I've had to clear a little bush that's off to my left, which would be my line would be getting tangled in, so I've just cleared a big overhanging bush. I've also cleared the reeds just in front of the rods behind me there, again just to prevent the lines getting caught up on any of the reed stems. But yeah, it's not an ideal snag fishing swim. Normally if I'm fishing snags I would want the rods right by the bivvy door so I can get out there, pick up the rods. It just isn't possible here. The rods have to go in the water because there are bushes to my left, which will mean that the line would cut through. So the rods have to be in the water, which just means I can't fish as close to the snags as I would want. I'm not obviously going to go right up against them if I can't get to the rods quick enough. Also, I would like to be fishing rods on single bank sticks, really, in these snaggy situations, but there just isn't the space to do that. So yeah, it's a 3-rod buzz bar. And yeah, like I said, I'm just going to have to keep off the snags a little bit rather than going right up against them, just to give me a fighting chance of actually landing the fish. But all is set. The rigs are on the rods, ready to go. I just need to get out there and get the trap set.
The lake in front of me could be seen as daunting. Around 100 acres of gin clear water and depths of over 40 feet. But with such a vast expanse of water and some methodical thinking, it's possible to eliminate large areas of the lake at this time of year. Due to the warmer temperatures, the fish would likely be in the shallower water. Furthermore, the lake is surrounded by woodlands, and inevitably, over the years, some of these trees have fallen into the lake to create underwater structures that are sure to hold carp. When we first arrived at the lake, we met up with German big fish legend Stefan Hampsch. With so much water in front of me and just limited time on our hands, his local knowledge will be invaluable if I was to make the most of this short session. This would only be a guide though, as it would be up to me to make the final choices when it came to spots, locations and all the finer details too. I further investigated these areas to find somewhere suitable to place a rig. In and around the snags there was clean, polished gravel, but due to the fact my rods would be in the water, away from the bivvy, this simply wasn't a viable option, as the fish would likely reach the sanctuary of the snags before I was able to get to the rods. I did, however, find areas close to the snags. Covered with a fine layer of silt, I found a small depression that looked prime for a bite. If you remember from Chasing Giants episode 1, we spoke about micro-locations, spots within spots, and this is exactly what I had found. Finding these spots meant that getting each rod in the perfect position takes extra time and precision. The rest of the morning I spent meticulously investigating these areas and finally positioned each rod within the best possible spot within a spot that I could find. When I'm fishing for fish of a lifetime, like this lake holds, heading back to the bank without feeling 100% confident simply isn't an option. My rig choice for this session will be a simple blowback rig. A Pacific tuna hard hookbait tipped off with an Edge's Essential pink corn would be my hookbait to start this session. And this would be my go-to setup when chasing giant carp across the continent. The left-hand rod was placed in the corner of the lake down the left-hand margin, the middle rod just off a snag further up the bank, and the right-hand rod was fished long, straight out in front of me on a shallow plateau. Now that the rods are out there, there's only one thing left to do: get the kettle on.
Well, all three rods are finally in position. First brew of the day. That took a lot longer than I thought. The problem I had really was just finding nice clean areas that were close to the snags but not too close. Close to all the underwater trees and branches and snags. There's loads of real polished off areas. But because I'm going to have the rods in the water to get round these branches and snags that are down this margin, I'm not able to be on the rods quick enough that I can fish really close to the snags. So I've had to put myself in a position where I can give myself a fighting chance. I've not really seen any signs of carp other than one fish which kind of cruised through one of the snags I was fishing against. It was just one solitary carp. It's not to say I could have spooked fish before I got to the spot, but it's a hard lake. This I know from previous occasions. It is a hard lake. It is a relatively low stock, but hopefully something can happen.
The rest of the day went by without incident, and before long the sun had set and it was time to settle in for the evening.
Get in there, you beauty. Got some. Oh, that beauty's fell out. Get in, you beauty. Oh, beauty. All the beauties are coming out. Get in, you beauty. Oh, that's a beauty. Come on. Stop f***ing about. Get in there. Oh, you beauty. There you go. Oh, you. Ah!
What's up, mate?
Beauty. What? You what?
How was your hand?
It's alright. It doesn't have any hairs on it anymore, which is what I wanted. So all is good. Smell will keep the mozzies away. Well, that's the end of our first full day here. Nothing's happened. I kind of didn't really expect it to. I didn't get all three rods in the water until late in the morning. By then the temperatures were right up, and yeah, I think any chances we do get will happen at night or first thing in the morning. Tomorrow is meant to be another really, really warm day. I'm also very, very conscious that these fish haven't spawned. Maybe that's affecting their feeding in some way if they've got other things on their mind. I mean, we haven't seen any signs that they are gonna spawn. We haven't seen any fish grouping up when I've been out in the boat or chasing around. So while it stays like that, all is good, and I think we've got a chance. But if I'm honest, at the moment, I'm feeling more optimistic than I am confident. But we're just gonna have to wait and see what the night brings. Sure. So that was the first night with the rods in the water and nothing's happened. I mean, there's been bait on two of them spots for 2 nights now. So yeah, feeling a little bit down right now. I did have an occurrence on the middle rod though. The swinger just dropped down about 4 inches. So now I'm thinking, has that rig been picked up and ejected? Or was it a liner and the lead has rolled down the shelf a little bit? But either way, I'm thinking that rig probably isn't sat right. So that's playing on my mind. The other two rods I'm quite happy with, and I did hear some fish last night down this left-hand margin. I say some, 2 fish last night down this left-hand margin. But these fish have got so many places to hide, so much water to hide in. When you think the average depth is 30 foot plus, and there's so many snags and features where they can escape. Plus it is only a relatively low stocked lake. I don't know the exact numbers, but I get the impression that a lot of the time the fish are just swimming around in very small groups or even just as individuals. And so far we have actually only seen 1 carp on one of the spots that we're fishing. I didn't get a good look at it. Kieran, the cameraman, he saw it glide through one of the snags. It was a long common of around 30 pound-ish. And that's the only fish we've actually seen where we're fishing. And I do feel at this time of year, pre-spawning, I feel like there should be a number of fish held up in an area. I feel like there should be one area in particular. Good God. I feel like there should be one area in particular where there should be a number of fish, and I don't feel like that's here right now. I think I'm just fishing for individuals or a couple of passing fish. So yeah, I'm in a bit of a quandary. I'm going to give it till 1 o'clock though. I think by then, once the sun's up, and today is meant to be the hottest day of this week, I think by then the chances of a daytime bite are going to be pretty slim. So if nothing's happened by then, I'm going to go and check the spot, see if any of the bait's been eaten. And if it hasn't, do I move? Bear in mind, I've only fished 1 night here. Am I being a bit eager? I don't know. I guess I'll see what I see when I go and check the spots. Well, I was just sat contemplating my next move. I had a bit of an occurrence on this rod at first light. The swinger just dropped back about 4 inches, and I was thinking, have I been done? Have I been picked up and done? Or was it just a liner and the lead's just moved down the shelf a bit? And then I was sat thinking, well, either way that rig's probably out of action. If it's rolled down that shelf, it's going to be landed in a clump, and then a couple of hours later it's just ramped off. Well, it's ramped off as much as it can do when I'm fishing completely locked up. It's such a tight swim, it's not easy to do anything in there. The tip from this was wedged under the other rod. It was bent round. Fish is coming in really easy now. I don't think it's a big fish, but at this stage it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter at all. Just getting up and running and off the mark would be something. I even wondered, is it a carp? Oh, it is a carp. I was thinking, if I just got a massive tench, there's some huge tension here. It's not a big fish, it doesn't matter, I can see it, it's a common. I can see it twisting and turning that gin clear water. It's in the net. Yes! Oh, go on. Oh my God. It's not a big fish. It really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter right now to get up and running, knowing that that spot is capable of producing fish. That is a start. Ah. Any fish from here is a result. I've had my fair share of blanks on this water, so yeah, I'll take that right now. but he may not be the German monster. But I've donned the carpy hat for this one. Take a look at that. Oh yes. Any fish from here I feel is a result. I've had so many blank sessions on this lake. It can be tricky, and I don't think there's going to be many chances on this session, so it's nice just to get a fish under my belt, and I do feel like I can build on this from here on in. He's probably upper 20s, something like that, but size doesn't really matter. It's a proper German gravel pit carp, and I'm absolutely buzzing. Well, it feels good to have a celebratory brew. We've got the fire on the go, although that is to keep the mozzies at bay. They have been relentless, but it feels better now that we are up and running. We've had a fish on the bank, but I am still in something of a quandary because that fish that we caught, pretty sure is the same fish that we saw on that same spot yesterday morning. So it does go some way to prove what I was saying before, how I felt like there wasn't that many fish in the area, just perhaps individual fish or just very small groups. So yeah, I think that has gone some way to confirming my thoughts. So I am still looking for a potential move, but I am still going to give it until early afternoon. I'm going to go out in the boat, check the spots, see how much bait's been eaten on the spot that produced the fish, check out the other two spots which haven't had a touch on them so far, and I'm also going to bait up some other potential areas. When we arrived here, Stefan took us out in the boat, and I had a look at an area at the other end of the lake, a shallow area on the entrance to a small bay. I think the average depth there was probably only about 9-10 feet deep. You could see the bottom all the way across. Didn't see any fish there, but it looks great, the wind pushing in. And I don't know, like I said earlier, that we are pre-spawning, and I do feel like there could be groups of fish somewhere. But at the moment, I'm still very unsure. But this is all the fun of the adventure, isn't it? If it was easy, then it would be boring. And it's all part of just working it out, because when the rewards do happen, it just makes it all the more worthwhile. Now, the area we're fishing at the moment, there are so many amazing waters. It's one of them places where when you put it on your sat nav, the screen just turns blue. It's just full of big gravel pits, all hold big carp. In fact, just behind the lake we're fishing right now is a 200-acre gravel pit, which also has sailing and windsurfing on it. And it's a little bit of the unknown as to what it holds. I know it holds some really big fish. I've seen photos. Stefan showed me photos of the fish it holds, and I was talking to Harry about it, and he said that sounds absolutely amazing. And we arranged to do a trip there together for a film, but that's a film that has never seen the light of day. It's another one of those films that I did mention earlier. Germany has been very, very kind to me, but it's also been very, very cruel. The fishing on there is so wild. It's a big, wild gravel pit with no real swims as such, and you are fishing for something of the unknown. It doesn't really get fished a great deal by carp anglers, and this really was something of an adventure. And the session couldn't have got off to a better start. I think just a few hours after we got the rods in position, after we'd rowed the rods 300 plus meters to a shallow plateau between two connecting bits of water, Harry has a take. I mean, it's a huge expanse of water, and just a few hours into the session, and Harry gets a take, and that turned out to be an absolutely awesome looking mirror. I think from memory it's about 47 pounds, and we were thinking, oh my god, if this is what is to come, then this is going to be amazing. And after that we spent the next 4-5 days catching nothing. Although it was around the same time of year, early May, it was freezing. I think we had 10 degrees during the day, big winds blowing across the lake, really biting winds as well. It made finding fish difficult. We weren't seeing any fish. It wasn't really sunny. Yeah, and just trying to find fish in conditions like that was so hard. And on the final morning of the session, I caught what I can only describe as the most horrible carp I've ever caught. Harry and I nicknamed this fish the zombie carp. It looked like it had been dead a month. And now it's time for me to hold up this 28-pound battered common that looks like it's just been dug up. But I mean, let's face it,
harsh.
yeah, it isn't the best looking fish, but it's certainly been in some battles, this one. I mean, look at it, it's, yeah, it's been in the wars. It looks like it's took on a fight with a speedboat and won. So just imagine what the speedboat looks like. But yeah, it's in a right old state. So I'm not going to even take this fish out of the water. We're just going to have a quick look at him and slip him back. Anyway, it turns out this fish had always looked like that. It just was a really fish. It always looked terrible. And I think there was photos going back 4 years, 5 years previously of this zombie carp, and it looked the same in every photo. It looked dreadful, but it was obviously relatively happy, just really ugly. So after a 1 week session, Harry caught a lovely fish within the first 2 hours of being there. And then I caught 2 smaller fish right towards the end of the session, including one which looked half dead. So we decided that was a film that wouldn't go out. In fact, the footage you're seeing now is the first time it's been seen anywhere. But Harry and I have vowed to make a return to that lake. It is an awesome looking water, and I have seen photos since of some of the carp it holds. And I think had the weather not been as cold as it was, in fact, the day we left on that session, the temperature went from 10 degrees to over 30 degrees. And the following day, the fish spawned. So yeah, it was just really bad timing. If the weather had been in our favour, I'm sure we'd have been able to find fish and put some impressive looking carp on the bank. But we're saving that for another time.
I got out in the boat to check the spots at the far end of the lake. A long row into the wind and the midday heat made for difficult rowing. But what I was about to find out next would help me formulate my next plan.
Interesting. Fish has just shown behind the boat. It sounded quite slappy, can't say for sure it was a carp. It does feel nice down here with that wind pushing down. We did put a bit of bait in here a couple of days ago, I can't see anything. Pretty sure what bait's gone in has been eaten. Yeah? Yeah?
Have you seen any carp over there?
No.
Okay, the whole lake stopped over there, mate.
Really?
See where my drone is?
No.
I can see about 50 carp.
Can't see him. Can't see your drone. You're not in front of me.
So you know that margin that you were going along?
Yeah.
Yeah, all along there. I've seen every single carp in the lake.
I've been there, I've not seen anything. Right, you have to guide me there. I've seen one carp, about 30 metres down our right hand margin. I saw one on its own that was probably a low 40.
Where we are.
Oh, there's one. One's just got underneath my boat now. One's just come out. One's just spooked off the boat. Okay. Down our right hand margin. That's where I said I saw one. There was one on its own, about like a low 40. Halfway, basically it was down, it was right in the bank. It was right in the bank as well, like its face was touching. Look at that one there. That's a lovely fish. Common. I'd say probably 40 pounds, something like that. Another one there. A small common this time. There's two there just behind the boat. Big fish as well. Big mirror at the back of the boat. Well, that was interesting. While I was out in the boat, Kieran had the drone above me just to get some shots, and he said he could see loads of fish, loads of fish. I mean, I could see a few, but obviously not as many as what a drone can see. But God, that was tiring. That was such hard work. It's about 30 degrees today. It doesn't look it here, but once you get over there, there's quite a wind on the water. You can't use outboards on this lake, so it is rowing only. That's tiring work, but it's going to get even more tiring because we've got to move. We have got to move. I have been out and checked the spots I fished last night. The spot I caught the fish on, there is no bait left at all. My hook bait has been the last one that's been taken, or I didn't get that rod back out after I had that fish. I felt if I had gone out there and put the rod back out, I would have just spooked whatever was there anyway. So yeah, that spot, all the bait are gone. The other spots, nothing's been touched. Everything's as it was. So I do get the feeling as though that one fish that we saw over there yesterday, around where my middle rod was the only fish that was there, and I've managed to catch it because the other spots haven't been visited. But over there, quite a way away, there's quite a lot of fish, and I've seen fish in lots of locations around there, not just in one area, and obviously lots of fish on the drone as well. So it's looking good. It's looking good. It's going to be hard work, but it's going to be worth it. Right, let's get packed down and get on the move. I'm soaked, absolutely soaking with sweat. Right, okay. Can we call in a team to pack all the kit away and move it? That seems like a that's what would do. Would have a team to pack their shit away and move it over there in the boat. Here's us like mugs doing it ourselves. Where's the justice? We're on the move. We've got as much of the kit as we could into the two boats. So I'm towing the little boat behind me with some kit as well. I'm headed down pretty much the other end of the lake where we'd seen quite a few fish on the drone and where I'd seen a few fish going up and down the margins. It's an area where we did put a little bit of bait when we first arrived, and when I checked it, all the bait had gone. So that's encouraging. It's encouraging that the carp are there. This heat isn't encouraging. It's over 30 degrees today. But yeah, I'm really pumped for this. I think this is what I needed. I definitely wasn't settled where I was. I hadn't quite felt it from the moment I got over there, to be honest with you. But yeah, I've seen all I need to see today. But let me know a move was necessary, and we're doing it. Let's hope the carp gods pay us for all this effort.
Rowing across the lake with all the kit was just the start of this big move. The long process of getting the rods out was about to start all over again. All the gear was taken out of the boats, placed onto the bank and set aside. Priority now was getting the rods out before it got dark. New rigs were tied along with a change of hook bait, and I also had to say goodbye to the bigger of the two boats that we had. The new swim was even smaller than the last. Cut out into the reeds was a small walkway into the lake. My RX Plus alarms and Horizon X6 rods were placed to the right hand side of the swim, giving me just enough room to manoeuvre the boat in and out.
All that bait's gone, nothing there at all.
What, from rod, yeah?
Yeah,
Where's this guy?
right hand rod. I'll have to come in and sort it out. Everything. I can't f***ing move in this thing. Right, let me fucking try and get in. Fuck me. Right. Right, good. Cheers. I'll sort this out now. Oh, God.
Oh.
That goes deep there.
Where's the middle dog there?
On that marker,
Where's the left hand go?
on the margin.
How are you going to get the boat out? If you get
Not a fucking clue.
a left hand?
Not a clue.
I spent the next couple of hours getting the rods onto the new spots, and before I knew it, the day was drawing to a close.
So the rods are finally out. That was a long and tricky move with the boats over here, and it is a really tight swim. I've just got a bit of lopping to do. I need to cut back some of these bulrushes that are just under the water. It's stopping me from getting the boat in and out easily. The mosquitoes around here are even worse than they were around there. Absolute torture they are. But we're nearly there. I haven't got a bivvy set up. There's gear all over the place. I really need a brew. So yeah, I'm going to get out here. It's quite deep here, but there is a bit of a metal runway staging that's submerged under the water. It's about that wide, and either side of it is waist height. So yeah, I've got a couple of bank sticks here which are running along the edge of this narrow plank that's going out there. So let's take that. Will be good.
This new swim made everything a little bit more awkward. Even getting down to the rods was a bit of a mission. It didn't matter though, I was in the right place and soon hooked into my second carp of the session. This fish put up a great scrap in the deep, clear margins, and under the light of my head torch popped up right underneath my feet and into the waiting net. As I peered over the net cord, I could see it was another incredible German gravel pit common.
32.10 that one, so we're going in the right direction. We're getting bigger. I mean, it's a small carp by this lake standards really, but it's a beautiful fish all the same. Here we go, we're getting bigger. 32 pound 10 ounce. This would be a cracking fish by English standards, but for this lake it's one of the babies. In fact, I think the last two fish I've caught have been two of the smallest fish I've ever caught from this lake, but it doesn't matter. After the move yesterday to get two bites so quickly, one of which I unfortunately lost. There's something sharp down there which cut through 45 pound leader. So yeah, a bit gutted about that one, but this one heals the wound of that loss somewhat. Right, let's get the rod back out and hopefully get a big one. Go again, left hand margin spot, absolutely roared off. I mean, it will do fishing with a braided mainline, but this clutch is not slack at all. Rod's absolutely hooped over. I struggled to sort of get the rod out of the alarms because it was wedged up against the storm pole, which I've got as like an extra long snag here. And it's proper wedged in there. Let's go in this one. I haven't had a chance to feel how big it is yet. You do get a good idea on braid because you're in such a direct contact. You can usually tell the weight of the fish. I have a feeling this is just a very turbocharged angry male. No, it's not a bad fish at all. That is not a bad fish at all. Ooh, okay. So nerve-wracking playing them in this crystal clear water, especially when you know there's so many snags down there.
You need a hand, mate?
Oh, you would come up there, wouldn't you? Oh, I can't quite reach it. God. Oh, got him! Get him! Oh, yes! Oh, Christ. That was eventful, wasn't it? We've got him. Nice to wipe out all the other lines, I think, this one. People say backleads are good for keeping rods pinned down out the way. They're not. We've got him. That's all that matters, we've got him. Well, I've just untangled the other rods. They're in a right mess, but managed to untangle them all. It's one of the hazards of using backlead straight off the tip, but with the margins being so deep and pretty much the same sort of depth going towards the rig, I'm actually using two backleads. I've got two backleads dropped on there just to make sure everything is pinned down as the fish are coming in this shallow bit of water. I don't want them to be spooked by any line, especially when I'm using 65-pound braid and 45-pound snag leaders as well. I want to make sure all that's pinned down so it's not detectable. But anyway, everything's untangled. The rigs will need changing, just where the rigs have been getting dragged along the lake bed, even if they've only just moved a few inches. For me, it's a new rig every time. I'm certainly not going to risk it when I'm fishing for fish of the size that are in here. So yeah, we'll take a look at this fish quickly, and yeah, I want to get these rods back on them spots because I think there's another chance this morning.
What do you reckon?
38-pound, I reckon. I'll let you call it.
Yeah? It is 43.8.
There you go, 43.8. That's not bad, is it? They're getting bigger, they're getting bigger. I mean, it's a big fish, but is it a giant? Was it 43.8?
43.8. 43.7, 43.8.
Beautiful. Not quite a 20 kilo. We're not doing things in kilos this time though. I've been instructed not to say anything in kilos, or the words of Harry. He's very anti-European. There we go, we're getting bigger. Every bite is getting bigger. 43 pound, 8 ounces. What an absolutely immaculate looking fish. So clean. You've got the slate grey back there. On this side along its dorsal, he's got his golden scales. Absolute peach of a fish. Typical German looking mirror, I'd say. I'm over the moon. I'm over the moon.
That 42-pound mirror may not be big on a global scale, but it certainly put a big smile on my face. And it's crazy to think that there's carp swimming around in this lake over twice this size. It was now time to get all 3 rods back in position. And as you've seen, it can take a while. But even though this was such a time-consuming process, it needs to be right. That next bite could be a new PB or a fish of a lifetime, and I wouldn't be able to settle if everything wasn't perfect. That also means that every bit of tackle needs to be up to the task in hand.
Given the type of water that we're fishing here, a big deep gravel pit with lots of potential unseen hazards and lots of visible snags as well, like fallen trees and shallow bars and mussel beds, it really is important to beef up the end tackle if you're to avoid any losses. We're here fishing for fish of a lifetime, and it's a lot of effort, a lot of hard work to even get here. So the last thing we want to be doing is losing any fish. So with that said, let's take a look at the setup in more detail. So that is the rig itself. It's a simple snowman style blowback rig. The hook bait I'm actually using here is a 15mm CC Pro Stim Liver hard hook bait, and that's topped off by a custom rolled Pacific Tuna cork dust wafter. Now I had actually started off topping off with brighter toppers. I initially started off using some of the pink artificial corn, which have been soaked in a Carp Freaks liquid. I also used a cut down yellow Carp Freaks pop-up, but after catching 2 of the smaller fish, I switched over to something a little more drab, something that doesn't quite stand out as much, in hope that it would produce me a bigger fish. And I mean, it has just done, it's just produced a 40 pounder. Whether the hook bait had anything else to do with it, I don't know. I think it's a bit too early to call that one, but that is a setup that I'm going to be using going forward. The rig itself is a really simple blowback rig. It's tied using a super strong wide gape long shank hook. I'm yet to have a hook pull on this pattern of hook, and I've been using it for over 2 years now. To create the blowback effect, I've just got a rig ring, a large rig ring tied off level with the barb, and I've got a piece of shrink tube over the eye to elongate the shank of the hook and help the hook turn, which greatly improves the hooking properties. Now the hook link, that's actually tied using a leader material. That's 40-pound armadillo. It keeps landing on me. I can feel it. Now, although it is technically a leader material, I find it to be a perfect hook link for most of my continental fishing situations, or at least where there are snags present. I've just got a small piece of putty there, just in the center, just to keep the hook link pinned down to the deck. Then if we move up to the lead, I've got a 6-ounce Klingon inline, which is set to fish drop-off style. I don't want the weight of a lead bouncing around, which could potentially shake that hook out of the fish's mouth. And it's also another hazard if the fish does manage to get into a snag. It's something else that could potentially get caught up, get tangled up. I want that lead to break free to make the whole setup much more streamlined. So if it does make the snags, I'm able to pull it through, and there's nothing else that could potentially get caught up that could cause me some troubles. Now the drop-off kit that I'm using is the Edges Camo inline drop-off kit. You see there, it pulls off really easily. Ah! He's a big one, and he got me. You can see there it pulls off really easily, but there's still enough resistance there for the lead to do its job and really help that hook to drive home. Now this is fished on a leader of around 7 feet of 50-pound submerged lead-free leader. Again, this reinforces, it beefs up those extra couple of yards should the fish go into any snags or anything sharp, just to beef things up and reduce the risk of any potential cut-offs. Not only that, but it also sinks like a brick as well. It really does pin itself down on the lake bed and blend in very nicely. Now above the 50-pound submerged leader, I have another longer leader. You can see that on the rod here behind me. Now here I'm actually using what is a hook link material. I mean, it might seem strange that I'm using a leader material for the hook link and the leader for the leader material, and above that I'm actually using a hook link. This is the Link 35-pound. It's a crimpable material used to create boom sections for hinge stiff rigs and rigs like that. But although it's 35-pound, that is the strength when the material is crimped. The actual breaking strain of this material is around 65-pound. So it really does reinforce those last few yards that are going to be in potential danger should the fish go in any snags, go over any sharp bars. And I have actually just switched to using this. Up until today actually, I've always used the snag leader material in 45-pound. I've used it for years, it's never let me down, tough as old boots. But last night I had a cut off before I even got to the rod. By the time I got to the rod, I picked up, everything was slack, and the 45-pound leader had gone about a foot below the knot. So I knew it wasn't the knot that had slipped, it had been a pretty clean cut. Whatever that fish had gone around was pretty savage for it to cut like it did. So yeah, I'm ditching the 45-pound snag leader and switched over to what is 65-pound link hook link material. And I think going forward, this is going to be my leader material of choice. It is a fluorocarbon, so it's very invisible. It also has great memory or lack of memory. So although that's just come off a small spool, it's straightened out really, really nice. It's nice and supple, and it's also very invisible in the water as well. So I think going forward, that is going to be my leader material of choice in snaggy situations like we're faced with here. Now onto the reel itself, the reel line. Again, it's something substantial. It is 65-pound submerged reel line braid. As I said before, and I really do want to drive this point home, it's a big effort just being here, and the fact that I'm fishing for fish of a lifetime. There's fish in here bigger than my PB, and because opportunities like this may only come around a few times a year for me, I want to make sure every fish I hook, I land. Any losses, I can't just take them on the chin. I could have potentially last night lost my new PB. You just don't know when there's fish of this size and this caliber in here. Every fish I hook, I want to land. That's why I use all this tackle that is beefed up, very substantial, and I have my total confidence in. One thing I haven't talked about yet is the bait that I've been using on this session, and that has primarily been just a mixture of boilies. One thing I haven't talked about so far is the bait that I've been using on this session, and that's primarily been a mixture of boilies, a mixture of the CC Moore Pro Stim Liver and the Pacific Tuna boilies. Mixture of sizes and shapes. I've been using 15mm, 18mm, and also the dumbbells as well. That's mostly what I've been using, been keeping it really simple. At the start of the session, I was also introducing a few handfuls of pellet as well. That was more just to help maybe clean the spots off, get the fish rooting around, exposing some of the gravel, because the gravel that was in those earlier spots did have a fine layer of sediment, and I just thought if the fish were rooting around, they might polish the gravel spots a bit cleaner. But as I've moved down here, when I was out in the boat, I did notice quite a few tench in the area, so I ditched the pellets and went for an all-out boilie approach. Obviously since then I have changed slightly again. I've introduced a few tigers as well. Just a handful or two over the spot. Tigers have worked well for me on this water, and I do think they are a good big fish bait in general. So yeah, that's it. Boilies, tigers, keeping it really, really simple. This certainly isn't the sort of venue where you're going to be fishing over particles and spod mixes and anything like that. You're fishing for big fish, and I do think in these situations a simple boilie tiger approach is often the best approach. Well, I've just been watching fish in this little snaggy bay to my right. I'd seen 4 or 5 fish show. It could have been the same one show 4 or 5 times, it's hard to tell. And then that rod, I decided the bobbin, or the swinger in this case, raise up and then just drop back down. Had also been a coot dive in there, and my first instinct was to think that a coot just picked me up. It wasn't a coot, it is a fish. It doesn't feel very big. I don't know if it's a tench. There's some huge tench in here, enormous tench. I think everyone I've caught out of here has been double figures. I think that's what we've got. Oh, no, it's not a tench. It's something we were just talking about earlier, actually.
Is it a catfish?
It's not a catfish.
It's a grass carp.
It's a grass carp.
You can't have chasing giants without a grass carp.
I've never caught a grass carp out of this lake before. I didn't even know there was any in here until we saw one on the drone. Well, this isn't what I've been. Ooh, it's quite big. This isn't what I've been seeing feeding in there. It was definitely carp. I had seen a few splashy shows this morning at first light, and I thought they're quite big. They don't look like carp. I thought they must just be big bream or something. I guess that's what a lot of these splashy shows were. Yeah, I said to Stefan today, is there any grass carp in here? He said, yeah, huge. Like, I think 35 kilo, I think he said the biggest one is. It's like, oh, like nearly 80 pound. Are you done? I want to make sure you're done before you come in. Are you done? You haven't really done much. Are you going to go mental now? Get in. Is that it? With grass carp, I always want to make sure they are absolutely knackered before they come out on the bank. I would rather the fish came off, to be honest, than it beat itself up on the bank on the unhooking mat. I mean, he's not really doing anything. If now he was going mental and the net was thrashing around, I'd just let it go again. Because yeah, they can really beat themselves up on the bank if they come in too early and they haven't exhausted themselves. But he's not really doing much. I'm going to weigh him because he looks quite big. Is he Bosnia big? Looks like an arapaima. Well, it's my first ever German grass carp. So it's a German PB grass carp. So we're going to have to take a look at him, aren't we?
Weigh him.
48. 48 pound. Okay. Ready?
Oh, yeah.
52.2. That's mental. 52.2.
I don't think we had a 50.
I don't think we had a 50. Not gonna lie, I wish you were a proper carp. But it's an impressive. Oh, my finger went in his anus. I think he's an impressive creature. How would you hold it? Okay. Look at the length of it, it's mental. 52 pound 2 ounce. Not sure quite how I mistook that for a tench. But there we go. It's just crazy. Oh, you're not what I was hoping to catch, but I'm glad I have. Well, I've got another rod here, an additional rod all set up, ready to go. I want to get back on that spot as quick as I can. This time yesterday I didn't even have the rods in the water over in this swim, and I got a bite pretty quickly, so it could be that night time, early morning is prime time, and I want to maximise my chances as much as I possibly can. Right, that's all rigged up, ready to go. I'm going to get in the boat. There was fish feeding out there just before I hooked that grass carp, so hopefully they're still there. Right, here we go. Guten Morgen. Nothing happened last night. Really surprised because conditions really improved as well through the night. As we were going into dark, there was not much breeze, and what breeze there was pushing off my back. I thought maybe the fish have moved, but then it's switched, it's blowing in here now. The temperature's taken a bit of a dip though. It's quite chilly actually, but it's looking good for a bite. But I've not really heard anything or seen anything, I've had no action. So yeah, I'm a little bit unsure about what's going on. It looks absolutely prime for it. Probably going to give it another hour or so. If nothing's happened, I'm going to go out in the boat and check all the spots. Maybe these fish have come in, cleaned me out and just left the rig, I don't know. But I mean, even before I caught that grass carp, there were carp in that little bay I'm fishing, and they were feeding as well. So it would seem strange that they've just suddenly disappeared, unless they are elsewhere, maybe spawning. That's the only thing. Because we have had a week of really warm weather. These fish haven't spawned yet. It's going to happen any day. But yeah, I feel a little bit stumped now as to what's happening. I thought it was all going to kick off last night. What are you doing?
Well, I haven't had a bite for a carp for about 24 hours now. Obviously I had that big grass carp. Just it was about to get dark last night. But nothing from a carp. I mean, it looks perfect for it over here, but I don't know if these fish have done the off, or they've just cleaned out all the bait on the spots. I'm not sure. I'm about to find out though. This is one of the spots I've been fishing, and I mean, there's no bait there. I've been cleaned out. I mean, I can't see the hook bait though, with this chop on the water. Oh yes, I can. I can literally see my hook bait, and that is it. They have come in and cleaned me out and done the off. Yeah, there's a few boilies as it goes into the deeper water, but I mean, even then I'm talking like a handful. Well, that's interesting. That is interesting.
Well, I had a feeling something wasn't quite right. It was either two things had happened. The fish had totally deserted the area, which I found hard to believe given that conditions look so perfect in here, or the fish had visited the spots, fed, cleaned me out and just left the hook bait. and that was certainly the case on that left-hand rod. I can see the lake bed so clear. I could see the hook bait, and that was pretty much all that was there. And yet no indications, not seen any fish, heard any fish, not had any liners or anything like that. I mean, I'm using double back lead, so that is going to eliminate any liners really. But yeah, totally cleaned out. And I know from fishing this lake previously, it is quite a common occurrence on here, regardless of what rigs you use. Stefan, he told me the importance of checking spots regularly, just to see if the fish have visited and cleaned you out, because it happens all the time with this lake. I'm sure it happens on lots of lakes as well, but the beauty of this place is it's so clear, you can see the lake bed. It can be frustrating, but I wouldn't have it any other way. It just makes it all the more rewarding when this lake does gift you with one of their giants. But we have only got one night left at this lake. We have to be off early in the morning to catch the tunnel on the way home, long drive back home. But hopefully I haven't left it too late. I mean, there's 15 hours left, that's all there is. But hopefully there is still time for this lake to throw up one of its real gems. Well, here we are, our final night on this amazing lake in Germany. And yeah, I know I've caught some great fish, but I can't help but feel a little bit down because I don't feel like it's going to happen tonight. I really don't. Weather conditions have changed. What little breeze there is pushing away from me. I don't feel like there's the number of carp in the area that there were. The mosquitoes are absolutely horrendous. And yeah, if I was to pack down and move now, get all the stuff in the boat, I think, well, it'll be about midnight before I get there, before I even get set up in a swim, and we have to be off early in the morning. So I don't think it justifies a move, really. But there is still a chance. I feel there's a chance on the left-hand rod. That was the only spot where bait had been eaten and it had been completely cleaned out. But this morning conditions looked absolutely prime for it. All the bait was still remaining on the rod in the bay. There was a lot of bait still there on the middle rod. So I'm kind of putting all my hope, all my trust in that left-hand rod performing some sort of miracle tonight. And I'm able to leave with one of these German giants, but I can't see it happening. Well, last night it absolutely chucked it down all night long. It's just died off to a drizzle now, but I think the weather right now is pretty reflective of my mood. Grey, miserable, and I say that. And I haven't had a carp for 48 hours. I did think about a move sort of late yesterday afternoon, but I did hear a fish bosh down my left-hand area. I can't tell where it is, the reeds are so high around me, but it sounded pretty close to where I'm actually fishing, so that kind of gave me some encouragement going into tonight. I'm not sure how that rain will have affected things fishing so close into the margin. But it's certainly a pretty soggy, damp, dour end to the week. And once again, this lake seems to have really kicked me in the balls, I think. It's, but that's what makes me just want to keep coming back. All the frustrations, and it has been frustrating. It was a frustrating start to the session, and it picked up in the middle, and now it's a really frustrating end. And although I've caught some really nice fish, I mean, you know, I've had a 43 pounder, that huge grass carp as well, which I'm told is actually one of the smallest in the lake, which is typical, isn't it? But yeah, it's not the ending I wanted, let's put it that way. As happy as I am to have caught some nice fish, I want more. I wanted more, and I'm going to keep coming back until I get more.